been said it's often good to have another pair of eyes take a look at what you're working on so that you can kind of see the forest from the trees as a business owner, if you will, working on your business, not necessarily in your business. We're with Darin Myers, who's the local franchisee of TAB CSRA, the Alternative Board. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Neil. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and boy, in your past career, 30 years in the nuclear industry, and you managed 1,000 people with Plant Vogtle 1 and 2. Did you kind of have like outside eyes or a board of directors, if you will?
Is that a loaded question? No, I absolutely, and as you would expect that. Actually, probably I would say not just nuclear power. I would say large corporations often have that. But certainly I had a lot of differing eyes from the corporate level, my other peers at other sites, industry watch groups, if you will, that would come in from time to time and shed some light or their own thoughts and observations.
And so recently you took on the franchisee role, the Coach Darin. We call you. I'm actually one of about 6 people that are involved with Darin, and we help each other. It's why I say 6 heads are better than one. That's the part that I have enjoyed the most, is that my whole life was sales and content, but not necessarily running the business and coming up with pricing and so forth. So I have appreciated being part of TAB.
You know, large corporations, rightfully so, have board of directors, and they bring a lot of advantages. Obviously, they focus on strategic planning, hold their large company accountable, bring some diverse thought and experiences for direction and guidance to the company as a whole. But Neil, as you go down, smaller business owners don't typically have that luxury. So if I said, who is your board of directors, I may hear the word spouse.
Yeah.
I may hear the drinking buddy, golf partner. And that all may be good. And maybe, formally they would say my CPA.
Business attorney, maybe.
Potentially business attorney. But the concept is that none of us know it all and have some differing views and perspectives based on our title here. 6 heads are better than one. I think is extremely, extremely valuable. And that's what this peer-to-peer advisory group concept that the Alternative Board offers is very exciting.
What I found is interesting is that there is accountability, which we've talked about in a previous podcast, and there's a way to look at either your issues or your opportunities in real time and explain a little bit about the confidential nature and explain a little bit about how you can be helped through with what you're dealing with.
Well, it's a great question. First of all, we want it to be very formal, and we want it to be a very, very safe place. In other words, the business board member comes to the board feeling that they can talk about any issue. So we all sign non-disclosure agreements. We draw from non-competing sectors. So no matter how many boards I have here in the community, we're not going to have competitors on the same board, okay? And so that's our concept that we start with. That's very important. We give each member an opportunity to bring an issue or an opportunity. And what I have found, and I don't know what you have found, is I largely help facilitate, but I put my 2 cents in where I feel appropriate as well.
He's being very humble. You made a great suggestion to me, perhaps. The printed newspapers come out on Sundays and people look forward to it. Maybe you should consider something like that, and we are.
Right.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Right.
But go ahead.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, Neil, is I think the power of this board is, and it's the theme of the title here, is 6 heads are better than one. So when one of the board members have brought up an issue, I have a few questions that may come up that we get clarified, and then I obviously jump to potential ideas or solutions that I have. But what I have found is how powerful some of these other solutions come out of other people's mouths that wasn't even on my radar. And I have self-reflected to just, how powerful that diverse thought is. I talk to a lot of business owners, and a lot of times I hear, well, I'm already on a peer group in my industry. That's great, and they, I'm sure, bring a lot of value. But and I saw this in nuclear power often too, is largely we come from the same DNA, and you may get a little twist of thought and a little differing perspective from time to time, but it's largely in the same ballpark. What I find with these diverse people coming in from a sales background, from a marketing background, from a banking background, manufacturing background, the amount of diversity and thought that I hadn't even thought about is what really I think is the power of some of these peer-to-peer boards. And it's one of those, the adage, I don't know what I don't know. I get proven that every time that I go to one of these boards. And I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that's so well said. And it's a strategy session. It's protected time. Share a little bit about what, if you meet with someone and you feel there's a good fit, what is a commitment of time?
Yeah, I said earlier in a podcast, we challenge business owners that how often do you work on the business versus in the business? And so one of our mantras is to try to teach the business owner the skill of the business can go on momentarily while you're working on the business. And that's what we view the board as doing. We meet once a month for 4 hours. We get right down to brass tacks, and we start talking issues and opportunities that the members bring to the table. In addition, then I do one-on-one coaching with the prospects that often mesh up with some of the things we've heard in the board, but often it is not the case, and we're going off doing some coaching that's outside of the board.
Might be work-life balance.
That's right. Right. And, common themes are family problems, and back up, family communication issues within the business. I can attest to that. I feel like communicating with my daughter and my new business with her, I find some differences that I'm having to work through that I didn't have when dealing with 1,000 people out at the plant.
Sure. Well,
and
you're the patriarch of the family, the boss, and now you're working together.
Yeah, but I didn't view it that way at the plant. I was just a part of a team, filling a role. However, the point is communicating with family members and the emotion that brings within a family business dynamic is different for me. And I recognize the challenges. And I'm just pointing out to listeners that certainly are business owners that I'm currently finding the communication in the family business more difficult in some cases than running a large organization.
I see, sure.
Other things we talk about, exit strategy, how are you going to get out of this successful business that you've put together? That's obviously a very common theme, and just a lot of personnel issues. Yes. Lots of personnel issues that we talk about. Yeah. Hiring, development, thinking differently. Yeah, now with COVID, we certainly got this virtual concept from working from home. Yeah, it's almost daily that I'm hearing from business owners that I can't find people.
Right.
Or I hired someone on Monday and they didn't show back up on Tuesday. I mean, I wish to say that was a rare comment, but I hear it all the time.
Walk somebody through what the process might be to determine if they are a right fit. I know that they would meet with you initially.
Yeah, I've grown up being paid for performance, and I think TAB's no different. There's no contractual requirement. It's month to month, and so frankly, I would like for you to have a test drive with the board. In other words, we've got current boards already ongoing. And before you sign up, I'd love for you to participate on a board. We'll sign the non-disclosure agreements and the formal confidential statements. But at the end of the day, I'd want you to come in and fully participate on one of the boards to see if it's a match. In some cases, it may not be the right match. Maybe it's just that, hey, they agreed to sit down with me and just do coaching only, which is fine. And I have some of those members. But clearly the board is something that's extremely, extremely valuable. And so I would, to your question, I would give them a test drive on the board, just let them try it out.
Great point. The other things I've learned, you mentioned sometimes you can be members of an organization, similar industries. Well, across the world with TAB, there's a way to connect. And for instance, there's someone in the digital publishing space that's in South Carolina that I'm starting to connect with. And
they're a TAB member.
And they're a TAB member,
right.
Yeah. And it may be the same if you happen to be involved in service industry or what have you. So I like the fact that it's local and they're local issues, but I like the fact that there's best practices.
Yeah. The other thing, I mean, we talk about the shared wisdom and diverse thought. That's clearly something that I think the board is very, that's the power of the board. I would tell you the other part is the accountability piece. Owners, like all of us, we like to do certain things and we don't like to do certain things. And sometimes those things that we don't like to do or don't want to do are the things that we need to do. And so I like to advertise that the board's equally strong at holding each other accountable. When you have peers that are at a previous board that you have committed to your peers that, hey, I'm going to go off and do this, and 30 days from now when we come back to the next board, I will have done X, Y, or Z. That gives some owners that accountability that they need just to go after some of the things that they may need to do, but not necessarily are doing.
Fair enough. That's a good place for us to wrap things. And to get started, to learn more, I might suggest that you go to tabcsra.com to fully take a look at everything. And of course, they've been nationally in business now for more than 30 years.
Oh, yeah. I one of the stories I like telling is there's a Hilton Head TAB operation. First board was established in the 2003-2004 time frame. Their original members on that board were 9, and 4 of the 9 are still there. And, talking to them, they are extremely cohesive, extremely tight, and just what you would expect out of a trusted peer group advisory board.
Yeah. 6 heads are better than 1. Take it from me. It's true. Can't do it all by yourself. You have to have the help of others. Takes a village, doesn't it?
Well, that's right. And I would even argue, and maybe 7 heads or 8 heads may even be better than 6.
Yeah,
but the point is that you get a lot of wisdom from other people that answers the question that you may not have the knowledge of even asking.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to so many more topics on culture and hiring and employees and so much more family businesses. We've just kind of scratched the surface. Thanks, Darin. I appreciate it and look forward to the weeks and months ahead.
I really enjoyed this, Neil. Thank you.
Sure.